2:17 ship time. Low orbit. I'm outside the hull with a welder in my hand, and you can hear my breathing pounding inside the suit like a confession. Sparks bloom, then die instantly in the cold. One more grind of metal, one more second of routine, and the yellow safety tether snaps. Like a gunshot. That's when I stop being crew and start looking like evidence, one more body drifting into the dark. No gravity. No op. The ship's lights shrink to a pin, then nothing. My wrist HUD stutters, oxygen drops, and the radio gives me static that feels too rhythmic to be random. What failed first, hardware or the mind? Before I go deeper, tell me your theory in the comments. This is the channel where I dig up what others won't, and we're about to reconstruct every minute. I'm going to lay this out minute by minute, no romance, no comfort, just the timeline and what it really means. 2 hours 17 minutes and 9 seconds, the tether is gone. Not loose. Not frayed. Gone. In the wide shot it coils away from me like something alive. And that's the first clue that your brain will start lying to you out here. You'll see intention where there is only physics. But the snap was real. The separation is real. And the distance climbs without mercy, 10 meters, 30, 80. The ship doesn't roar away. It simply stops belonging to me. I twist, head over heels, the stars smearing into lines. Inside the helmet, the only stable thing is my own body, the thud of a heartbeat, the hiss of airflow, the creak of fabric under pressure. You think silence in space is quiet. It isn't. It's intimate.
Oxygen levels dropping.
It puts every internal sound on trial. 2:18, I fire the suit thrusters in short, disciplined bursts. White puffs of nitrogen bloom and vanish, too quick to feel like motion until you watch the ship stop sliding across the visor. This is the first moment I get something that looks like control. And it's also the moment the wrist display starts flickering. The HUD glitches green, then fractures into warning icons. Battery. Comes. Oxygen. It's not dramatic in the way movies want it to be. It's bureaucratic. Little symbols that do not care about panic. I tap the wrist pad with gloves that suddenly feel like boxing mitts. The interface lags. It's like trying to type a last message through a cracked phone while you're falling. 2:19, the oxygen alert doesn't scream at first. It pulses.
Does anyone read?
Red, rhythmic, almost calm. I catch my own eye reflected in the scratched gold visor and it looks wrong. Too wide. Too wet. This is where I need you to understand the mechanism, because the horror here isn't only running out of air. It's what your body does to your mind when it senses the end. You start breathing harder, which makes you feel like you're doing something. But heavier breathing in a sealed system turns the inside of your helmet into a damp room. Condensation blooms and shrinks on the glass with every inhale, like the visor is alive and reacting. The fan whirs. The regulator clicks. The suit keeps working. That's the trap. It works just well enough to drag this out. 2:21, I try comms. The dial on my chest unit turns under my thumb, frequency numbers scrolling too fast to mean anything. Static pours in, harsh and aggressive, and for a few seconds I let myself believe there's a voice inside it. That's the second mechanism. Hope will invent a rescuer for you, even if it has to build the rescuer out of noise. I shout anyway. Not because I think someone will answer, because the act of shouting reminds you you're still a person. The visor fogs with every muffled scream and you taste metal in your mouthpiece. No response. Just the echo of your own desperation bouncing around. Inside plastic in glass. Then the static changes. It's subtle at first. A rhythmic thump under the hiss, as if something is bumping the microphone. From the other side, I freeze. You would freeze too. Because randomness doesn't repeat like that. Or does it? Is it a pattern, or are we watching a dying brain do what dying brains do? Connect dots, make meaning, claw for a story? 2:24. Microsleep hits like a betrayal. 1 second you're counting breaths, the next you're jerking awake with a full-body jolt, vision swimming. In an investigation, we call it a gap in the record. Out here, a gap is a risk you can't afford. Your hands drift. Your legs drift. The suit doesn't fall, but you do feel like you're dropping through a pit because there's no reference point left. Darkness becomes total when the ship's last light finally blinks out. That moment is more violent than the tether snapping. It's a severance. The reflection dies in the visor and suddenly you're not sure where your own body ends and the universe begins. I switch on the helmet lights. A sharp beam cuts into nothingness and catches particulate dust, tiny motes dancing like they've been waiting for an audience. That's when the first hallucination tries to enter like a memory. Warm green fields. Birds. Wind and trees. A double exposure over the starfield. Your mind reaches for Earth the way a drowning person reaches for a shoreline. 227, the CO2 scrubbers begin to complain. You don't hear failure. You hear a rattle, a change in the rhythm of the suit's breathing. And your body knows before your intellect does. You cough. You swallow hard. Your breathing gets faster, which is exactly the wrong thing. Out here, panic isn't just fear. It's a mistake that wastes air and steals seconds. I'm still trying to work the problem. Short bursts. Stabilize rotation. Conserve power. Restart life support. You should have seen the awkward contortions, me trying to reach the pack on my own back, wrestling with bolts and panels in 0G while newtons. Laws make every push shove me the other way. It feels like fighting a door in a storm. 231. The universe starts doing something that makes no sense. A patch of stars disappears. Not dimming, not clouded, gone, like someone rubbed the thumb across the sky. Wide, static, unmistakable. My stomach drops, even though there's no gravity to do it for me. Because this isn't inside my head anymore. This is outside. This is geometry. I turn slowly, light sweeping, trying to find the edge of whatever is blocking the galaxy. The beam hits something that should not exist in open space, texture. Organic, wet sheen glinting in the cone of light. Gray flesh where there should only be cold vacuum. You can call it a creature, an object, a phenomenon, labels or comfort. The only fact that matters is this: something massive is close enough to cast a shadow across the stars. 233, radiation spikes. The Geiger counter chatters like teeth. The display redlines. The image grain seems to thicken, as if the camera itself is being poisoned. Invisible danger, measurable, undeniable. And now you have two threats: the clock inside your suit and the presence outside it. I drift through debris, microscopic ice crystals that glitter like diamonds, beautiful in a way that makes you angry because beauty has no business being here. Then larger shapes, twisted metal, cables that undulate like seaweed, wreckage that looks ancient. At one point, a giant frozen organic eye rotates among rusting. Whole fragments, glossy and obscene, reflecting starlight like it's still watching. This is the point where it stops feeling like an accident and starts looking like something that's happened before. Because there's a beacon. A rhythmic white strobe pulsing deep ahead, clean and deliberate. Each flash throws a lens flare across my visor and lights up the debris field like a heartbeat. Hope arise disguised as engineering. A signal. A source. A destination. I lock onto it with shaking fingers, the wrist pad finally behaving long enough to draw a targeting overlay. The suit reports what I don't want to hear: propellant nearly gone. I have one real move left. 238, I spend the last burst. The thrusters sputter, cough, then die with an empty tank hiss that sounds like the end of an argument. My body accelerates across the starfield toward the strobe, and for a few seconds it feels like salvation is not a myth. Then the source resolves into shape. A colossal monolithic human ship drifting without power, so large it blocks out the stars behind it. No running lights. No chatter. Just mass and silence.
Open the door.
The hangar bay door is open, yawning like a mouth that forgot how to close. I drift into the shadow, flashlight scanning floating tools and crates suspended in the air like a post-disaster. Dust motes tumble in my beam. The inside feels wrong in a way I can't quantify yet, like stepping into an abandoned building where the air is colder than it should be. And the quiet has weight. I drop my magnetic boots. They clamp onto the deck with a heavy, satisfying thud. For the first time since 217, I feel something like ground. Something like inside. Something like a place where rules apply. And that is exactly when the corridor ahead flickers red and I see frost patterns on the wall that look less like ice, and more like fingerprints. The pressure is brutal and playing. In that corridor, reality shifts quicker than your oxygen timer can keep up. The gravity pulls sideways. Emergency lights stutter like a failing pulse. Then you see it, another spacesuit floating midair, perfectly still, like a witness that never got to testify. When I turn it, the visor isn't cracked inward from impact. It's smashed outward from the inside. Nearby, a logbook drips black liquid in slow, weightless beads, as if the ship itself is leaking evidence. And that's when the walls start to pulse. Not with power,
Please,
with something organic.
Can anyone hear this?
Metal
I'm
softens.
stranded.
Red light turns the hallway into a throat. The airlock seals, then fuses into something that looks like bone. Here's the reveal I can't soften for you. The ship isn't derelict. It's bait. The environment is the predator, and rescue is the lure. If you want the next file in this series, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to keep digging until we can name what's hunting in the static, and why it learns our signals. My opinion? The most frightening part isn't the creature. It's how quickly a human mind bargains with noise. The lesson you can actually use. When you're exhausted, isolated, and desperate for a sign, slow down and verify. In space, in life, the brightest beacon is often the trap you wanted to believe in.